Welcome back and thank you for tuning into your daily silver video. If you want the latest news on what's happening in the world of precious metals, then make sure you click subscribe. If you want a safe, reliable, trusted, and just great place to purchase your precious metals from, then send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Slayer sent you. They will hook you up. Weekly specials. It's a great company. Andy Sheckman is the CEO. You all love him. So if you guys want to support that company and support me, let them know Slayer sent you. With that said, we're going to be covering this video. It's from Nikos Kavalis from Silver Bullion TV. It was posted 11 days ago, and they're talking about sizable silver shortages projected. Now, I'm going to be reacting to some of the different topics. You can see this is right here where they talk about silver showing deficits for the next 5 years, silver industrial and investor demand, growth in silver renewables may be slowing, silver's industrial use in AI, how are these silver shortages handled. There's just a lot of different types of, topics they talk about. So I'll just get some of the highlights. I'll also link this video in the description if you guys want to check it out yourselves. I highly recommend checking out this channel. So yeah, with that said, let's just jump straight into it.
And the other charts that they put out. For the past 4 or 5 years, we're seeing deficit after deficit of silver, deficit hundreds of millions of ounces. Can you speak on that a bit?
2024 was the 4th consecutive year of deficits. We're seeing another one in 2025. And in fact, we do something we call the 5-year quarterly forecast for gold, silver, and for PGMs. And if you look at our silver outlook, we see deficits declining, but still deficits for the next 5 years through to the end of the decade. I think what we've seen is a very strong increase in industrial demand over the past decade. It's been up. I think I compared 2024 to 2014 before I came here for this chat, and I was even surprised myself that it was more than 50% higher overall. So we've seen that, and at the same time, supplies response or supplies increase having been a lot more modest overall.
Now, I highly doubt they're going to bring this up, what I'm about to say, but these numbers are even worse than that. Like, yes, those numbers are horrible, record-breaking supply deficits, just from those numbers, the actual statistics, but they're not even incorporating some sectors that are bigger than EV, which is the #1 sector. Like, military and aerospace is a bigger sector than electric vehicles, but from the Silver Institute's numbers, EVs are #1. So if we're seeing record-breaking supply deficits, it's actually much more extreme than what's even on paper. But I am glad that they're looking forwards for the next 5 to 10 years, projecting forwards. That's what you have to look for if you're investing into something, is where is it headed? You're invested into it. You're looking ahead, not at what the value is or what the price is right now, but the potential of where it's going and the reasons why it has potential moving forwards. So looking at these numbers, it's very, very telling, and it's very bullish for silver specifically. So let's keep moving on and let's see what else they have to say.
And we have investor demand. Between those two, or if there are any other categories, how much would you say industrial demand takes up of that silver
pie?
Yeah.
So industrial demand accounts for anything from 40-something to almost 60% of global demand. Investment, as you can imagine, is a lot more volatile. It's more price responsive, and naturally this leads to wilder fluctuations. In the last few years, we've seen it as low as 15-16% and as high as 25-26%. And here I should point out that by investment in this in our supply demand table, all that we capture within investment is bar and coin demand, so physical demand by retail individuals buying bars and coins. We don't include things like metal account. We don't include things like the impact of futures trading on the physical market. We don't include OTC derivatives, etc. The reason being that we see these as being either releases or additions or shifts in ownership of above ground inventories of silver. Whereas what we really want to count is what's actually taken out of the system or out of the liquidity and bought by, I don't know, an individual, taken home or put in a safety deposit box or in your beautiful facilities.
But what about tech, right? I mean, yes, they're talking about investment demand and talking about how volatile it is with people more so than industry. But think about the bigger picture, right? Like he said, industrial demand's what, 40-50%, and from when he started, he mentioned this earlier, it's up 50% from when he started. Like I think it's in 2014. So just imagine in like the next 5 to 10 years what that would look like. Now let's move forward. Let's see why growth could be slowing down. Let's see what they say about this.
Yeah, we still have room here. Just let us know. We can make space for you. We hear a lot of solar demand and how solar demand does involve silver paste. Mm-hmm. Do you see this really taking a larger chunk of that silver supply as we move into, let's say, renewables, solar, and even AI, which we may talk about?
So I would say that most of the growth, let's say the breakneck growth portion side of the development of the solar industry in terms of silver demand has already happened. We went from a market that was, I don't know, like sub 3,000 tons to something closer to 6.5 now. So most of the growth has happened. And this is mainly because we're, especially as prices have gone over the $30 mark, we are seeing a very aggressive effort by the industry to consume as little as possible per gigawatt of installed capacity. And they've been...
Now, that's interesting you mentioned that, but like the Samsung silver lithium ion batteries or some of these military industrial applications, these things are going to require more silver. Or for example, these solar panels, which now solar panels are using twice as much silver because they're putting panels on the backside. Because when you have ones that are, let's say you have a solar panel in the desert or somewhere like that, if you have a panel on the backside, you could still get rays from the sand reflecting off of the bottom of it. So now they're doing this as well, which requires more. Or something like AI chips. Now with the AI boom, that's requiring more silver. So yes, they're trying to cut down the amount of silver, but since silver is the most highly conductive metal, sometimes it's actually more efficient, even more cost efficient, to use more silver to make that application more effective. So it just depends on what what this application is, but those are a few examples of where more silver is required.
The amount of energy it consumes, the data centers and all these things is this industry looking to consume silver as well?
No doubt, both directly and indirectly. Directly in the sense that a lot of the components, the PCBs, the semiconductors that are used directly within AI-related equipment will contain silver, and indirectly in the sense that the additional energy infrastructure that will be required, they will contain breaker switches that have silver, bus bars that have silver, and other equipment that will contain silver. So yeah, we're pretty confident that the whole AI revolution is on balance very much positive for silver industrial use.
100% it is. And not even just with the technology we have now. Think of all the future applications that will be invented, and we're already setting mandated X amount of solar panels to flood the globe, and these are projections that we have to go by. Or like they're saying, every automobile company by the year 2030 is going to be electric, right? the amount of silver we need is just not realistic to fill this green new era, this new digital era that we're advancing into. So let's see what they mention about this right here, how silver in mission critical components is irreplaceable. Because remember, silver is the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity, electricity, and light sensitivity, and nothing can replace it. It's irreplaceable, right? And that's pretty much what sets silver in stone to have these potentials, because it's not like anything would be able to replace it. It would actually be less efficient to replace it with something like copper, which is close second in electrical conductivity, but still silver is number one.
Okay, and we were talking a bit beforehand, and you had mentioned, especially when it comes to, let's say, mission critical types of components, that silver will definitely play a role with those.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. There's no doubt that silver, precious metals are a lot more expensive to use than base metals. So fabricators, component producers, or advanced materials manufacturers will always try to shift to cheaper materials when they can. And for example, we've seen that very dramatically with multi-layer ceramic capacitors. 20 years ago, they would have had a lot of silver and palladium. Nowadays, 99% of them are base metals focused. However, when it comes to mission critical applications, whether these are military, aerospace, medical, the higher cost of using precious metals components, whether these are high in silver, gold, PGMs, the case for spending the extra money is there. It's still there.
I'm really glad, and I hope you guys really paid attention to what he just said. He mentioned military and aerospace and medical, because there's colloidal silver in the medical world. Silver has antimicrobial properties; it can purify water. But he mentioned what I was just saying. It's actually still worth it to use silver in these military applications like satellites or drones or rockets or submarines or whatever, Tomahawk missiles, and it's still more worth it than to try to replace it. And that's very important. So they mentioned how silver shortages are handled. That's pretty. I mean, that's something that we really don't need to go into. I talk about that a lot. Let's go into $6,000 gold plausible, and then see if they mention what that would mean for the price of silver. If you guys want to check out the whole video, I know I'm skipping over some parts, but that's because, I want you guys, I don't want to take the entire video from them. But yeah, let's see what they talk about $6,000 gold. And comment down below, do you think $6,000 gold is possible? And if it is, then what do you think silver's price would be?
Gold, I saw a report where by the end of the decade, they're looking at $6,000 gold, and nice numbers. But in your estimation, from what you see through your research, plausible?
We're still bullish gold. We still think that, I think our targeted peak is at some point in the early part of next year, or mid part of next year. I forget the exact point in time. We tend to have, in our base case scenario tends to be more conservative than that. We do have a bullish variant, which sees prices considerably higher, but still not quite $6,000 an ounce. But, I'm sure that these forecasts that you're referring to have some pretty aggressive assumptions in terms of systemic risks crystallizing. Yeah, under such a scenario, the gold's value is as much as, it needs to be for whoever holds it to be incentivized to give it to you when you.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point. It's, gold's value. How could you compare the value of something that has intrinsic value, right? That's usable, that's especially silver, not even, let's talk about silver both gold and silver, intrinsic value. How could you compare a dollar amount when the dollar is worthless, ever so decreasingly getting worse? We're talking about the dollar's already lost 98% of its purchasing power. So how can you compare fake dollars to how much something of real value, real money is worth. I mean, you can't really put a dollar amount on it. So yes, $6,000 sounds crazy, but what is 6,000 US dollars? What is that worth compared to something like gold or silver that has real world uses? And that's kind of the angle he's looking at, and it's a good point. How could you compare fake money into real money? And with the way the dollar's headed, it wouldn't seem too crazy that whoever's holding the thing of real value would be able to place that amount on it, because especially with silver, since it's scarce, he who owns the silver wins the war. So you can't, it's bigger than just dollar amounts. And that's what I try to tell people. Once you understand silver's true value and you understand the dollar's true value, that's when everything really starts to make sense.
Want to buy it. And a big
and even more so, think about like big tech, the people that need the silver, regardless of what the price is, they're gonna have to pay that price because they need it. If you want the newest, latest iPhone, you better hope that they grab it or willing to pay the price, especially for like military or to win wars and all that. You better hope they're willing to pay the price, and they will. So that's where the supply and demand, low supply, high demand pushes the price up, will eventually have to factor in with big tech companies trying to get their hands on silver. It's not like they're going to say, okay, well, we're just not making Teslas anymore because the price of silver is too high. No, there's still, whoever owns the silver gets to set the price.
Big part of this recent rally it's been just as much related to investors wanting to buy gold as those investors that are holding it not wanting to give it up. Yeah, I mean, in theory, such levels could be achieved, but we would need quite an aggressive mix of macroeconomic factors.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely, the stars would have to align. But let's just do some math real quick. So let's say gold's $6,000. And let's say the gold to silver ratio is, right now it's 75 to 1, but let's say it's 16 to 1. That's $375 silver. What about 7 to 1, the ratio it comes out of the Earth's crust? That's $857 silver. Let's just say the ratio is normal, 70 to 1. That's $85 silver. And that's with the ratio just staying the same if gold was to rise. But so, I mean, regardless, silver is extremely undervalued compared to gold, or gold is overvalued compared to silver. But once again, how can you compare a dollar amount, fake dollar amount, to something of real value? It just, you can't. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. You guys can go check out the rest of it if you want. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to subscribe and make sure you like this video. Remember, check out, if you guys wanted to purchase precious metals from a great company with great prices, great inventory, info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Slayer sent you. Helps me out. Andy loves to hear it. I'm taking a break from being a broker right now, just easing back into things. Eventually I will get back on track with that, but right now I just want to get back into the groove of making videos. I'm a single father. There's just a lot going on behind the scenes as well. But I think right now, it's just, hit them up. I'll be doing a podcast with Andy next week. Looking forward to getting back in the swing of things. And yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Go check out my last video, or the last few videos. Really good stuff. Peace.